A pandemic of violence floods the streets of major cities as cases of the media-dubbed murder virus, MV20, soar, causing those infected to go on killing sprees. Caught in the middle, police detective Angela Miller finds her only trustworthy ally in the self-proclaimed psychic PI, Gerald Henry. As the two try to navigate the violence, they are drawn into New Age guru Abramelin Harvest's plot to heal the planet. Harvest's missive:
the world is sick, and humanity is the infection.
The cure: murder. From the twisted mind of Shawn C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires and Shadow Play in Book 1, Kim and Jesse, comes his most vicious novel yet, Murder Virus. Available where books are sold.
Welcome to Drinking with Comics.
Woohoo!
I'm Shawn. That's Mike. And joining us today is Terry. Is it Mayo or Mayo?
It's mayo, like the mayonnaise, like the
I
condiment.
thought
Like
so.
mayonnaise or not mayonnaise?
It's not mayonnaise, it's mayonnaise.
So guys, first of all, Terry, thanks for being here. Mike, thanks for setting us up. Terry has a Kickstarter live right now for his forthcoming new book, Buddy, which I love the logo, by the way. The inverted cross in the name is fantastic. So tell the viewers, tell us all about Buddy. And how many days are left on the Kickstarter, by the way?
I think we're at the tail end of 9, so we're about to approach 8. The clock is ticking towards 8, so
right on.
It's almost over. It's winding down. So we got Buddy. The tagline is Milo and Otis meets the Exorcist.
Immediately, I was like, yes,
sold. Yeah.
Why did it take this long for someone to think of it?
Right. But so it's about a pug and a house cat whose inept humans have brought evil into the home through a possessed trinket. Hilarity ensues, and the household pets are the only ones who can save humanity. So it's my other stuff that I've done. I've done a book called The Wicked Righteous. I've done a book called Disposable Legends, and I've done a lot of like short stories. A lot of them like political, like in nature. But they're all like R-rated. They're like more mature audience. This one, even though it has like that possession and whatnot in it, it's still something I would give to my kids, which makes me, I don't know, bad dad. I don't know.
No, not at all.
Horrible father. Yeah. Here, son, learn about this. But it's something I would be comfortable with them reading. I mean, I don't shy away from that darkness. But I've got 7 kids and 1 on the way, and I feel like,
wow, congratulations.
Wait, you got 8
Thank
kids?
I am. I'm pushing 8 right now. Yeah. I'm gonna figure out
How
what's
does a
causing
comic creator afford 8 kids?
Well, I'm also a
Kickstarter.
nurse. So
you're a
it's,
nurse. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, buddy.
You work in delivery, child delivery.
I specialize in putting them in, not in taking them out.
Like, this one's mine. I like this kid.
Yeah.
This one's mine. I'm gonna keep it.
Yeah. But actually, no. I work in psych. I work in mental health, behavioral health.
Oh,
so it's,
interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, I started out in emergency room and flight nursing, like helicopters and stuff like that, and then I got old and fat, and I was like, yeah, no, this isn't gonna work for me.
Well, that was my next question. How old are you?
I'm 46.
I'm
Okay,
45.
you're
So
younger than me. How much sex do you have a week? You have 8 kids.
I mean,
I don't know if you
practice
were
makes
warned
perfect.
about this. I don't know if you were warned about this, Terry. But
I'm
Mike,
good with it.
I'm just so you know, that's like pretty soon Mike will be shirtless and
No, Terry knew full well what he was getting into.
Okay,
I knew
okay,
what I
okay.
was.
He was the one that hit me up. He's like,
That's
"Hey,
right.
can I come on your show?"
I'm ready to run the
But
gauntlet.
that's a lot of sex, dude.
It is a lot of sex. I mean, what can I say? Everybody's got to.
Are they all
be
from
good
the
at
same
something.
woman or different women?
No, different women. But
That's the way. That's the way to go.
is it? Well, then I'm doing it right.
So
I'm
says the
doing it right then.
Mandalorian. That is the way.
This is the way. This is the way. No, I've
Spice
got
of life,
my
right.
oldest is 26 and he's out on the East Coast. He was in the military,
Wow.
and then my youngest, well, my wife is pregnant, but my youngest is 2 years old. So
Okay.
there's that span.
Yeah,
Right,
vast,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, but I come from a big family. I had 7 sisters and I was the youngest and the
Okay.
only boy. So then boom, I have all my boys. So it's
Right.
I always
Are
wanted a
all
big
of them
family.
boys that you have?
All boys, yeah.
Oh
All
wow,
boys,
that's
yeah.
crazy, man. Well, congrats, and I'm sure you're a proud father. What's your oldest? He's 26, so he's kind of on his way.
Mhm.
What's he into? Is he a comic book guy, or is he?
You know, he's
like-
into art. He's into art, and he's like, I mean, I have tattoos, but he has like tattoos. And he
Mhm.
was, I mean, he was in the Navy, and he's got like all naval aquatic tattoos, and he's in engineering is what he's going to school for, and he's
That's cool.
so he's yeah. And then my next one is 22, and he's a marine biologist.
Oh,
So I
wow.
mean, we're doing something right with my kids. I don't know. It must be from
Yeah, they all have
some others.
respectable jobs, unlike us.
Yeah, right. Just kidding. Yeah, I don't even know what we were talking about, but yeah,
So,
I like
Ter-
sex. Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Terry, I want to ask you, so the possession story
Mhm.
and the fact that you said you work in like psych ward.
Mhm.
So have you ever experienced anything at your job that like led to this? Like, i.e., a lot of times like possession is dismissed or debunked as psychological trauma or
Right.
whatever. Anything that fed into this?
This story specifically, no.
Or
Other
just the
stories
interest
I've
in
written,
possession?
but yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I've always been like a big horror movie buff, and The Exorcist is like up there on my top favorite films. But yeah, working in psych, especially when I first started, that line between like delusion and paranoia and
Yeah.
hallucinations and all that, it can totally be seen where it's like misunderstood.
Right.
I mean, yeah, without getting into details because you can't, but
No, I know. I just
but,
meant in a broad way.
yeah, but in a broad sense, I've seen some stuff where it's like this does not seem natural. This seems supernatural, and it's creepy and it's scary sometimes. But for the most part, the longer you're in behavioral health and whatnot, you kind of understand the psychopathy of everything a little bit better. But still, there's days where it's like, yeah, this still seems a little bit beyond what I understand. So.
Right on. Tell us more about Buddy or any of your books. Anything. Tell us something.
Well, Buddy's the one that I've got right now, and it's the one that I'm working on. I started this one about 2.5 yeyears ago before the pandemic hit, and then put it on pause because, like I said, I'm a nurse and kind of really wasn't going to have time to promote it or do it or anything. So pulled out of the publishing deal and just was going to put it on a shelf, and if it ever happened, it happened. But so when the numbers started kind of getting better and hospital life started getting better, reached out to Dave, who does the art, Dave Schwartz, who does the art, and Zen, who does the lettering and the editing. And I was like,
I know Zen.
yeah. So,
Yeah,
and
buddy of
I
mine.
was asking if we could just get the band back together and see what happens with Buddy, and they were all on board. So threw it on.
Who was the original
Kickstarter.
publisher? Was it
I'm not gonna get it.
was it the guys that did Tinseltown and all that stuff?
No, it was not. No, it was
okay.
not. But I could talk offline about that. But I'm trying. I did
Oh,
have
right
to kind of lawyer up about it a little bit. But
Interesting. Okay.
yeah,
But it's
I'm
all
happy.
yours now, and
It's
that's
all
that
mine.
matters.
I've got all the IP, and it's and it worked out really well. But which was also the delay in that didn't hurt. So
Right on.
Yeah.
so we put it on Kickstarter, but I haven't done Kickstarter in like 3 years. So I was like, maybe we'll do good, maybe we won't. I don't know, but we're doing good. I mean, we had the goal set at like 5,000, and we're almost at 8,000 now, and we've unlocked almost every stretch goal that we put out there.
Nice.
Yeah, we got 9 days left, so we're still just pushing, but I like the book. I like it because, like I said, all my kids. I know you can't sneak things past kids, right? I mean, they're smart, so we went purposely with like this Cartoon Network kind of feel, like colorful and like vibrant, and so that when the horror kicks in, when like the possession kicks in, it like kicks in. So
Right.
it's really cool. I like the mix. I wasn't sure if anybody else would, but so far the feedback has been really well, and
Is it a one shot or is it part one of
Three
a
issues,
series?
right?
Right, 3 issues. So part 1 of 3 for this arc, and then if things go well, then I'll start adding to the lore of Buddy. But
So you do a
but
Kickstarter for each issue, or is the Kickstarter for all three?
for all three. So the
Oh,
first
that's
issue
cool.
is already done, and it's done. So the money for this one is to get 2 and 3 done, or at least pay the artist to get 2 and 3 done, and then like paying for the to get the books out. But yeah, no, that's the first 3 issues there, and then we'll see if a publisher wants to come on board, and if not, we'll keep it indie. I'm fine with that too. So
Right on.
either way, yeah, just I'm having fun with this one. It's a departure, and I'm having fun. You know, the other books that The Wicked Righteous was seemed like a lifetime ago, in every sense of the term, but it was like about a pandemic, and so I stopped it out during and when the pandemic started. It just a lot of things coincided, and it wasn't the reason I stopped, but it didn't hurt that the pandemic was starting, and
That was Alterna, right?
it was, and
Okay.
yeah, and stepped away from Alterna. I think I put a post out on Twitter about all that. Stopped that book. I think we were in issue 6 or 5 when I stopped that one. So the plan with
Did you
that
finish the story, or did you just step away?
I no, there were things that were going on, and I just kind of stepped back. I just stopped it in its tracks. And then I wanted enough time to pass by, and I put a post out not too long ago saying that I was going to bring it back independently, and then finish the story because I like the story. I just didn't want to do it during a pandemic.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I didn't want to do it in the direction it was going, I guess. So I just, yeah, I'll finish it on my own terms, that kind of thing.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. But
that's interesting that you were writing about so that seems like there was just something brewing there. So you're writing a book about a pandemic, and a pandemic happens.
mhm.
You familiar with an author, Chuck Wendig? He did a novel called, okay, so I was reading Wanderers, and literally I'm reading it and I'm getting tweets. This is a couple weeks before it like locked down here, from my friend in the UK, and it's video from a friend of his in China showing like full taxo suit people taking bodies out. I'm like, what the, like I'm looking at the Chuck Wendig book and then looking at these images. I'm like, okay, this is fucked up. And then I actually went back and I had a novel about a pandemic I wrote in 2007, but it was never, it's like one of the first things I successfully finished. And I put on the back burner. And then the first week of the lockdown, I'm standing in a Trader Joe's watching people panic shop, fighting over shit. I'm like, I'd be a fucking fool not to go back and rewrite that right now and use what's happening.
Yeah.
So I wrote that last year and published it early this year. But it's weird. I'm sure there's other instances too, where it's like, look at that. It was just there, it's like that goes beyond zeitgeist. That's just in like the fabric of like reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
I mean, it was surreal. I mean, the tagline or the synopsis of The Wicked Righteous is basically there's a pandemic or a virus hits, it wipes out. Everyone has died except for children and people who have like taken another life. So it's got like that good versus evil or that kind of feel to it, right? So when I was writing it, it's from the point of view of the kids, from the children. And then I start hearing all these things on the news about how, adults are dying, but the kids are the numbers on the kids are, and I was like, fuck this. I don't want to be part of this right now. But
that is so crazy.
Yeah, which I know that's not, I mean, everybody who has ever read or wrote something, post-apocalyptic or about a pandemic, they have ties to what just happened in the last year and a half, and it's like it calls back so many things just because it's so traumatic to people on certain levels.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
So it was wild.
Also, it's one of those things I have been saying, like I was telling my cousin, I was visiting family in Chicago like 3 weeks before lockdown, and we're having a late night conversation, and I've thought for 20 years now that something like this is going to happen because there's just too many people on planet Earth. Like if you look at the population clock, it's insane. And I was saying to my cousin, I'm like, we're like a late night beer fueled conversation. I'm like, I don't mean this to sound terrible, but like Thanos is kind of right. I mean, I don't want it to be that way, but nature has a way of saying like, you know what, like the population's out of control. and I'm good. If you're not gonna do something about it, I will. And
Yeah.
so I, and there was famously, I can never remember the gentleman's name, but there's an epidemiologist that was telling every presidential office since like Bush Senior, we should be investing in this because it's going to happen. And everybody was like, yeah, maybe the next guy. It's not going to happen on my, my watch or whatever. And so it was definitely out there. And it's one of those things people don't think it's really going to happen until it happens. And then everybody's like, oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, humans like
Can
to
I?
be
Oh,
reactive. They don't like to be proactive. They don't like
It's
to plan.
exactly
they like
right.
to react. So it's
Yeah.
but it was only a matter of time for something like this to hit big.
Yeah.
I don't know if either of you have heard of Dr. Kizzy.
No.
But I am infatuated with her. So like created the Moderna vaccine.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh.
She's 34 years old. She's like this sassy black girl. And we're supposed to be talking about comics, but there was a city hall meeting on MSNBC last week, and she convinced this dude to go get his vaccine. Who like, she's like, yeah, I call it inquisitiveness, not like reluctance or whatever. She's just incredible. Anyway, but back to you, Terry.
No, man, anybody that can convince people to go get the vaccine deserves a platform. So no, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It would make my job at the hospital a lot easier if everybody would just go get their vaccine.
Do you deal with corona victims?
Yeah. So part of my job is strictly psych, but then the rest of it, and then especially during the pandemic, because there was no such thing as a non-COVID
all hands on
facility.
deck, right?
I mean, it is what it is. So I mean, over the last year and a half, I've done CPR more times than I did the previous 10 years combined, and that's just what it is, and that's people who deny it, people who don't. I won't even get into it, but it pisses me off because it seems self-evident as to what it is.
Yeah.
How do you do CPR with somebody who has a virus?
Carefully as you can, which, I mean, when your shield is slipping, when your mask is slipping, when your suit is slipping, it slips. But that's part of the job. It just is what it is.
Well, you're a hero. I applaud you, and
that one.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah,
thank
you.
Man. Thank you for your service and for the wonderful comics. So
thank you.
Let me ask you, for the Wicked Righteous, like if somebody wanted to go read what is already out there, would you suggest they so are your plans to finish it? Are you going to be able to like republish the original stuff? Should we wait? Should we go find back issues? Is there a trade?
The plan is to fit. So the first 6 issues was collected in a trade.
Okay.
In a trade. The next 6 issues, we stopped at I think 5. So the plan is to finish that one and then add another 6 issues and put it all together in one big omnibus type thing. And we're going to do that on Kickstarter, probably going to be in 2022. Okay. But I know that there's copies out there floating around, and I know I've got like a couple boxes in my garage I'll probably get rid of one day. But yeah, the plan is to reprint it under something else, and then go from there. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Well, I have a lot of friends that publish books through Alterna. David Lucarelli, who did Tinseltown.
Luke, yeah.
Terry, and I think I can't remember who I met you through another person. Was it David?
I think it was David, yeah, because we went out there. David and I tag teamed on a new comic book day.
Free comic day thing?
Yeah.
It might have been, yeah. Yeah, but I had 3 or 4 people that published through Alterna. Alterna is no longer a diamond, as I understand.
Like nobody is now, right? I mean,
no,
not nobody, but I mean, there's all this consensus. I keep hearing that Diamond is, and I don't want to spread misinformation, but I literally keep hearing from people who are like at least somewhat connected to the industry that they're flirting with bankruptcy at this point, and which terrifies me because it's fine if Marvel goes to a bigger place, but where's Boom and Aftershock and all these other wonderful companies going to go?
Right. I'm certainly concerned as a retailer.
Yeah, and I would imagine.
I'm not at this point, even though it's alluring to like take my Marvel business to Penguin because it's a bigger discount and it's free shipping. That would mean a lesser discount on my indies, which are to me as equally important as any Marvel or
so.
DC book. And DC's already kind of made their decision. They've already made life that much more but however, I will say that their distributor has been more reliable than Marvel has, or than Diamond, I should say, has been in the last few months. Like, so you just never, like, Shawn.
Yeah.
Like, I never know when my fucking Diamond shipment's going to show up. I hope it shows up on Tuesday. It's supposed to.
I don't think that's Diamond's fault beyond the fact of who they use to ship your books, because I worked for the company that they ship with.
Yeah, well, you mean
it's
UPS?
UPS. It's a terrible company.
Well,
I mean, I worked there
in
the
it
90s,
used to
but it's a
never be
company.
a problem. But it is what it is. But I always know, like, I could pick up my Diamond books and they'll be there,
Yeah.
So or my DC books, I mean. So if DC, which has already left Diamond, is gone, and then Marvel leaves, then Diamond is left solely with Image, Boom, Dynamite, a lot of these smaller companies. And I don't know. I mean, I know I support a lot of them, and I have like a whole indie section, but I know a lot of comic shops, they don't care. Like, they just have Marvel, DC, and back when Walking Dead was coming out, they had Walking Dead.
Well, because think about it. I mean, for a small shop too. I mean, I hate to say this, but I mean, Marvel is it has the best average. Like, people are going to want Marvel Comics because they have the biggest movies in the world playing all over the globe all the time. So it's the best advertisement. What does Image have? I mean, and Image is probably, maybe they probably put out the highest percentage of my favorite books, but like, and just the fact that
they got Invincible.
It's independent. But I mean,
Invincible.
Okay, that's true. I guess more and more they have some, but I mean,
And
I don't know.
Pretty much the Robert Kirkman stuff.
Which I wish they would like advertise as like a Image product, because I mean, I've talked to people who still to this day are surprised that Walking Dead was a comic book, and of course these are people that are not into comic books at all.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, no, this is like from Image Comics. It's a comic book, and they're like, oh no, I didn't know that. It was like, well, I don't know,
Yeah.
You don't know.
I've experienced that as well. Yeah. Jupiter's Legacy, I think made maybe a small dent, but
it's not getting very good feedback from what I've seen. I liked the original arc of the comic, and then I lost track because they went and started doing all this, like they did that first, I don't know, it was 6 issues, and I really liked it, that Frank
Quietly.
Yeah, he drew, and then the next one, it was a different artist, and it was kind of the story of the parents, so it was back in, I think, the 50s or 60s. And then after that, I don't know, I just also Millar's worldview is a little bit, it bothers me sometimes. I mean, he's entitled to his thing, but he takes things far in a way that sometimes makes me slightly uncomfortable. So
I like to equate Mark Millar as the Billy Corgan of comics.
Oh God, don't do that, because I hate Billy Corgan. I mean,
I do too. But it's like, all right, that's a good song or that's a good story, but this guy's a fucking douchebag.
Well, oh man, we've had this conversation. I'm from Chicago, and it just bugs me to no end that Billy Corgan. I don't know. Anyway,
any feedback on that?
No, I mean, I like Smashing Pumpkins. I like their music. I'm not a big Billy Corgan fan. He's had too many interviews where it's like, oh, this guy's kind of slimy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Siamese Dream and Gish, great. Everything after.
Yeah.
Just it's like the cringe. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, that's just me. So wait a minute. So comic book wise. Yeah. So okay. I think we were. Are we at a place?
Okay, I'm good.
You guys want to talk about anything that you read? So Terry, what we usually do, unless if anything else you talk about or pimp, please do.
Of course.
Otherwise, We usually just talk about like either what came out that week or what we're reading. We can also talk about there's an Eternals trailer that dropped. I'm still scratching my head after one viewing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's talk about.
No, that's how I felt about the Eternals trailer too. I was like, I was
Let's talk
pumped
about the
for it.
Eternals for a minute.
I was pumped for
Yeah.
it. I waited all day to get home from work so I could watch it on my TV and not my phone, and then put it on and then like just kind of sat there for a minute and I was like, all right, but I wasn't blown away. I feel like I don't have any stronger emotion towards wanting to watch it now, but I'm ready for the next trailer. I'm ready for the next thing that they're going to put out.
Is it
for
just
Eternals.
me, or did it seem like there's that kind of like after thing where it's like, oh, now that Iron Man and Captain America are gone, who do you think will lead the Avengers? I think the only reason that was there was because every other aspect of that trailer, nobody will be able to connect with any of it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a bad thing, because I'm like, okay, if anything, I want to know. It seems to me like, okay, as they've gotten bigger with the MCU, they can kind of do genres, right? So like Guardians of the Galaxy was when they started doing the sci-fi element, and Shang-Chi will be the martial arts genre. So is this the like where they're going into the Lords of the Ring kind of element of Marvel? I'm thinking, I don't know.
I don't know, I would appreciate it a lot more without that scene, because I felt the same way when that comment was made. I was like, oh, that's a little cringy and that's a little that was not necessary. But I mean, just let it stand on its own and see what happens. That's kind of what I was thinking. But,
Mike, what'd you think?
My stream's having problems. I was incredibly bored by the 2 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean,
that sums it up,
and
man.
It has fucking Salma Hayek in it. Like how
Wait, your stream is all fucked up, man. Give it a minute. Yes, Selma Hayek. I just rewatched Dusk Till Dawn. I showed my girlfriend Dusk Till Dawn. She'd never seen it before, and I just remembered. I'm like, God damn, is this movie amazing? And she's gorgeous.
yeah, I remember seeing that in the theaters for the first time.
Same here.
Oh my Lord, yeah.
Yeah, and I was explaining to my girlfriend. I'm like, I don't know if this is possible, but I feel like when I saw that in the theater, they must have advertised the fact that it was going to do that switcheroo. But I remember it as I didn't know, and I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? Like it's just so extreme.
Yeah, maybe they did advertise it, but I didn't know either. And I took my date there, and I had no clue. I just thought it was like a Quentin Tarantino-esque bank robbery type thing, maybe a little bit, because I remember them saying something about vampires. But after the first hour, you're like, okay, well, there's nothing major, and then boom, bloodbath, and my girlfriend's head is in my shoulder for like the next 45 minutes, and I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't know.
Man, it really, and I mean, I've always loved it since that viewing, and I've watched it. I mean, probably 7 times maybe since then. But I'm like, man, like this is it's easily in my top 10 and maybe in my top 5, and like that movie just fucking goes for it. Like they really swing big. Like even Savini's head comes off and the rat, becomes it. I'm like, oh my God, like that is some seriously insane shit to do in your movie. Like, I just love it.
It was a great movie.
Mike. Yeah, really great movie.
Hello.
Hey. There you go. I think you're back. No.
Kinda, sorta.
Oh my God.
There's an Eternals book right now. I read like the first. So I'm largely unfamiliar with them. I knew about them as far as the Kirby creation, and I knew like a little bit of history, but I had not really read anything. And there's this newer book that Marvel's doing with Kieran Gallon, which I'm probably saying their name wrong, but in reading it, I didn't love the book, but I don't know if this was the case before. I feel like they are very much posing them to be to the Marvel universe what the Endless are to Vertigo. Does that sound like it maybe is in the ballpark?
Yeah, that I've never thought of it like that, but that tracks perfectly, honestly. And I was never a big Eternals fan either. I mean, and I appreciated it for what it was and what it
Yeah,
meant, but it's just not anything that I purposely picked up and read.
same.
Uh, yeah, it didn't call to me. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe that went part of maybe there's these huge Eternal fans out there that are just they love the trailer and they can't wait. But I'm just wondering how big of a following that is. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and realistically, one of the things that's always impressed me about Marvel, the MCU, whether I like the movies or not, which I generally do like them. But I went through a period of kind of burnout and I didn't see a bunch of them for a while. Guardians, I was unfamiliar with I knew what it was, but I was unfamiliar as most of the world was, and it always impressed me so much that year because where Marvel took not only a property that nobody cared about, nobody knew in a bigger sense of pop culture, and they're like, we're not even going to put a main act. You know what? The two biggest names, they're just going to voice it, so you won't even see their faces, right? But we're going to make a fucking star out of this other guy. And then conversely, DC is like, oh, well, it's I almost felt like they're like, we're going to do the same thing with Suicide, but I don't really feel like they had like the courage of their convictions because they put Will Smith in it. And like, it just seemed like they stopped to re-edit it to add some humor to it. And it really impressed me about Marvel. Like they can create these enormous, huge movies out of stuff that's like, at one point was probably like what G level character. Like we're not even talking like D level characters. It's like
Right.
way bellow that.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll do it again.
Yeah. I mean, I've never. I honestly, because I enjoy all of the MCU movies too, and I know I'm gonna go see Eternals in the theater, and I'm probably gonna enjoy it and everything. But I felt the same way about Guardians of the Galaxy, but a little bit different because when the trailer hit, I mean, it just seemed fun, and and that got me excited.
Yeah, same here. The trailer definitely got me excited.
Yeah. So they've been on a roll, and I'm on board with most. Well, I'm on board with everything they put out. Honestly, there's nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I've gone back and watched most of what I missed. There's still a few I have to see, but I mean, even though, like, I did not think I was going to like Captain Marvel, and I really liked it. So that right there was, to me, I was like, oh wow, okay, well, and I'm a big fan of their big picture. I just really, it's just a gotta see in and of itself, where even as much as that, like, I agree with you that kind of throwaway thing at the end of the Eternals trailer about the Avengers. The one thing about it I did appreciate is the fact that does let us know that it's the Avengers are still there. You know what I mean? Like it's still there. Like it will come back at some point, and they're taking their time. And that's what impresses me. I always beat up on DC, but it's just kind of out of like, come on.
Well, they kind of make it easy. I mean,
they do, and it's I mean, I don't want to go after the low hanging fruit, but it's like, dude, they killed Superman, and spoiler, in Batman Superman. I'm like, it's the first fucking movie, and they killed, like, come on, like, have the, you need the staying power, like, plant the seed, and Marvel planted seeds for years before they harvested them. I mean, that's impressive.
It is. I don't know. It is, and it paid off. It really
paid off.
Yeah. I mean, I people, like I said, at the hospital who are not into comic books, they don't know who these characters are, but they start watching it and they know that I do comics. So they're like, they come to me like I'm a guru, which I am far from, but they're like, oh, I'm watching them in order. And and by the end of a month, when they've seen them all, they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I can't believe I don't know who these characters are. And how do I get these comic books and stuff? So, I mean, it's making fans. I know it's making fans of these characters. And I can see the correlation into, like you said, the comic books being a commercial for the movies, but kind of vice versa as well. Getting people who normally, So, so I'm all for that. Even if DC, Image, Marvel, whoever's making comic book movies, I'm all for it because why not?
Yeah, and like you said, I never thought of it before, but I do wish The Walking Dead, which is one of my all-time favorite comics, and I hate the show. I just hate the show. But I wish they would make more of a push to get people to read the comic, which maybe they are a little bit because they're republishing it in color with extras every month now, like on a monthly basis. So maybe that is, but I don't watch the show. But when I did off and on, I never saw them like from the Image comic, Skybound, like none of it. It's kind of feels like it's very separate, and I feel like no, come on, man, like get people into the comic shop.
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel the same way. Feel the same way. And Invincible too, which I know that having read these things before, it's like almost seems like a no-brainer. Of course, this is like based on a comic book.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, but I have friends that are actually I have close friends who had no clue that it was a comic book, and like, bro, you're just missing out. You're just missing out on the
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah. I just started Invincible. I never read the book. I'd always been meaning to read the book, and I never read the book. And then the show came out. I didn't even know the show was coming. It came out, and so then I got frozen where everybody around me was watching it, but I'm like, oh, but I should read the book. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna start watching the show, and I'll get to the book eventually, maybe. But yesterday I watched the first like 1.5 episodes, and man, there's something I don't want to do a spoiler for anybody watching, and I won't go like plot spoiler, but I'll just say the animation. I don't watch a lot of animation. I love
Mhm.
Cowboy Bebop, and other than that, I tend to have a hard time with it. But and I don't know why, but it reminds me of like the old GI Joe cartoon I grew up with, or like the Saturday morning cartoons. There's something about it that seems like old school animation to
Yeah.
me. And so when it erupts in gore and blood, I had like a very like almost cognitive dissonance about it, where it's almost like seeing your favorite Saturday morning cartoon from when you were a kid erupt into gore. It was just a weird experience, but I fucking loved it. It
Yeah,
was like,
right?
whoa.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I are on the same wavelength on a lot of this stuff, and because that's kind of how I felt too, and I wondered like because I was watching it with my older kids and wondering out loud if that was an intentional choice because it almost feels like it had to have been to make it
Yeah.
have that nostalgia look.
Yeah.
But then boom, when it hits, and
Oh
I mean, because that last part of episode one was just like, oh
man.
my
Wow.
lord.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, you if you read the book, then you knew at least to some degree what was
Yeah,
coming. And I knew because people had been saying, like my boss said, it's like the fucking Wonder Twins, but like the end of the first episode is just a gore fest. So I knew something was coming, but I didn't know exactly how it was going to, unfold in the plot with the characters. And so it was just, whoa,
yeah, yeah.
it's good stuff.
It really is. It really is, and I'm glad that stuff like that is getting made and it has a home, and it's. I
Yeah.
mean, it's awesome. It's a good time to be who we are right now.
It really is, man. I mean, it's like some image. I mean, Amazon especially. I mean, I know it's like I keep thinking it's basically Wayland Utani is like it's either Google or Amazon is one of them, or they're gonna swallow one will swallow the other and become Wayland Utani. But man, they make a lot of stuff that I'm like I mean, I never forget when the boys came out. I just watch it. And I'm like, I can't fucking believe this is. I just can't believe. I can't believe this. And I liked the boys, the comic book to a like I'm an Ennis fan, but I liked it not as much as I love Preacher, but I liked it.
Mhm.
But I think that it's the boys was the first thing where I'm like, this is fucking better than the comic.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I felt the
Like
same way.
it just seems to I mean, hindsight, I guess, or whatever. But the comic, I had some issues with certain things about it, and then I don't know. So far, and then the second season coming out in 2020, and there were so many things where I'm like, oh my god, this is paralleling our world in such a way
Right?
right now that is so fucking crazy. Like
Yeah.
Stormfront. I mean, oh my god, some of it was hard to watch because it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, I just I'm reading the news in the morning, bad idea. And then I'm watching this at night and I'm like, oh wow.
Right, right. Yeah, no, and honestly, I mean, not to segue back to the book because I'm not doing
No,
that, but
please, as
the
much as you
uh
want.
the whole purpose of me like going in a lighter but still kind of keeping to my roots, dark, but a lighter direction was because I got so overwhelmed with like politics and the pandemic and death and people just hating on each other constantly that I didn't want to write in that world. I didn't want to have to live in that world at work, watch that world on TV, and come home and have to fucking write about it too.
Right.
So I needed a respite. I needed a way to like self-heal myself by jumping in another world, another make-believe world that was better for me. So I mean, Buddy is that. Buddy is my respite from 2020, 2021, 2019, 2018.
Terry,
So
that's so awesome. I mean,
yeah.
it's just it's so awesome. I love the fact that like you knew what you had to do, and that's one of the things about being a human that perpetually amazes me. Where like sometimes you don't even know that you're doing what you need to do to survive or to be healthy or to stay sane or whatever, but you just there's something inside you
Yeah.
that does it. And then you know, I it's so cool. And it's cool that like your safe haven involves like a like possession. Like I love that because I'm a horror fan and like I can
Yeah.
relate to that. You know, it's like I'd come home every day from work last year in the worst of it, and I'd fall asleep on the couch watching you know, whatever, Evil Dead or some horror movie. And like my girlfriend's mom lives with us, and she'd be like, how can you watch this stuff? And but for me it's like, I don't know, it makes me feel good, you know. It's
Yeah.
like there's just something. I had a super stressful week this week, and I've been retreating into Psycho Gorman. I'm just throwing up, right?
Psycho Gorman. I love Psycho
Oh my
Gorman.
God. It's so wonderful. And it just,
Yeah.
I'm having a stressful day at work. I'll just like literally go on lunch for half an hour and queue up Shudder and watch like 20 minutes. I don't even know how many times I've watched that movie now since it came out like 2 months ago or whatever, but
Yeah.
just watch like 20 minutes of it. I'm like, man, I feel so good. And I know other people would be like, what are you watching? That's so fucked up and twisted. It's like, no, it's not. It's amazing. It makes me laugh. It's wonderful.
Me too. My kids and I have been quoting that movie like all. And the highlight of my week actually was the actress who played Pandora. Like followed me on Twitter, and I was like,
oh nice.
You know, and I'm like, oh my God, Pandora followed me.
That's
and it
awesome.
Was, and it was just I love Psycho Gorman. I love it. It's
so
a great
good.
movie.
What? Give me your I don't like current. What are you reading currently, comic wise, or anything you want to talk about?
You know, as far as comics, a lot of my stuff has been coming from Kickstarter, just because working in the hospital, I still, you know, they have their guidelines, and I try to stick to them as close as I can because I'm like in the upper management part, and they still like persuade or ask us to stay out of community settings, which I'm fine with. I'm fully vaccinated, all that kind of stuff. My whole family is, but still kind of just doing my part. So a lot of my stuff has been mail order. A lot of my stuff has been crowdfunding. So honestly, the last couple months, majority of the stuff I read is stuff I've backed, stuff I've gotten off of Kickstarter. So right now I'm reading oh my God, Peacekeeper by Ryland Grant.
Okay.
He did like Banjax and Aberrant and stuff for Action Lab. But he had a Kickstarter, I think it's called Peacekeeper. And it's kind of, it really, because Ryland does screenplays too. And so Peacekeeper is really just like this raw, like bank robbery, like kind of like if you had Heat from like the 90s
Okay.
merged with like a Quentin Tarantino type movie with wrestling involved, then you have Peacekeepers. And it's
Oh wow.
it's really cool. It's a really cool book, really cool book. So that's what I'm digging into right now. That, and then a book called Lead City, and it's a western, kind of like Hunger Games meets Quick and the Dead type thing.
Really?
It's really interesting. That's what I love about Kickstarter. There's so many like off the wall things that you find on there, and you know, because I'm really big into like finding new voices, finding new things,
same.
right? And you mentioned before like going into comic book shops and it's like Marvel DC, Marvel DC, Image, Marvel DC, Marvel DC, Image. But it's kind of the same regurgitated stuff sometimes. Nothing against any of that stuff because I get that too and I read that too. But I feel more fulfilled when I'm reading something from somebody I don't know, maybe, or an idea that is like, holy shit, where did this come from?
Yeah.
Because it's like just people on there just hungry to tell their story and they love their story and they're putting it out and it's their story. I love that kind of stuff. I eat that stuff up.
Same here. I mean, I think of late, like I didn't read any of the big two for I don't even know how long, and I recently kind of fell back into a Marvel thing, but a lot of it's Vault actually is one of my favorite companies right now, and they just like the plot was what started me, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like ancestral horror. Nobody does this right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had Black Stars Above. They had there's just been so many books lately, and I'm a huge horror fan, so
Yeah.
it's I don't know, it's a good time to be a comic fan and a good time to be a horror fan, because I feel like, and I guess historically that tracks, right? There's when there's political or social unrest and strife, there tends to be good horror.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like we've had a lot of it, but in comics is, there's people that can't afford to get a movie made, and so they make a comic,
Yeah.
and it's still the story. It's a great medium for it. So,
Oh yeah.
and Kickstarter.
Yeah, no, I mean comics is my favorite medium. When I came out to California from Texas, I moved to LA and like tried the screenwriting thing, and I wrote a few, sold a few, nothing ever got made, but it wasn't like a passion. It was like I want to do this, and I love writing, but it's not something that I was like in love with, I guess. But
Mhm.
comic books, writing comic books and seeing, an artist come back with something that you've written on a page is like it's still mind blowing to me.
That's
And
cool.
then reading it, getting out the reaction and stuff, that's my infatuation. So I
No,
love
that's
comics.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I write. I mean, I've published 3 novels that I'm extremely proud of, and I have a comic. I have a friend that's an amazing artist, and we have a comic. It's going to be three issues and then like 3 volumes. And the first issue is more or less done, except he it's it takes time, right, when you're starting
Right.
out, and so he's worked his way out of pretty much he does art for a living now, and he's gotten so good. He's like, I'm going to redraw the first issue, and so he's redrawing the first issue, and I need to, at some point I need to try and shop it again. I sent a pitch to a couple places, but that was kind of in the previous iteration, and
Yeah.
it is something to see. Like, I'm writing this and sending it to him, and then I see like those images. I'm like, oh my god, like, yeah. I mean, I guess maybe because I've read them my whole life, and now to see something that I'm doing translated into that medium, yeah, it's my favorite medium too. It's
Yeah.
just, it's integral to my being, I think,
Yeah.
and it sounds like you're the same.
Where you been all my life, Sean? sounds like we're tracking in the same trajectory.
Yeah, man. Well, okay, I guess I think maybe Mike's phone died. So hopefully, Mike, if you can hear me or if you see this later. So just so you know, Terry, so I'll edit this hopefully within the next 24 hours, depending on my work, how work goes tomorrow. And I usually like to turn them around and have them up the next day. I don't know if that'll happen. My work, it's been pretty crazy lately, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it'll go up. I'll send, I'll tag you or whatever, and then
Cool.
that'll be the edited version. And yeah, Mike, if you can hear this or you're watching the edited version, charge your phone next time in advance, and
Don't start off at 8%.
yeah, don't start off at 8%. Damn, man. So
Well, I
okay,
want to thank
Terry.
you for letting me on because, like, since we've been on, we've rose up a little bit, and
Good.
I
Oh,
have
two.
two tiers left in the stretch goals, and we just got closer to both of them. So I have a stretch goal that's going to be available at 300 backers, and now we're 14 people away from that. And then I have a stretch goal that unlocks at $8,000, and now we are $88 away from that.
Boom.
So
All right. That's
boom,
awesome.
kismet. Yeah.
Oh
So
man, I'm
thank
so
you for having
happy.
me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, come back anytime, anytime. And like I said,
All
I would
right.
just stay in touch with social media and just have a wonderful day. And thanks for coming on.
Exactly. Thank you very
All
much,
right.
Sean.
Good night, Terry.